Motorhomes. More motorhomes. On Aquaholic, that can only mean one thing. We are back at Project Sunseeker. Stuff has happened. Rich has given me a shout and said, come on up and let's get the full skinny. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I've not seen it for a few months now. Things have progressed. And here's the man himself, Mr. Richard. How are you?
Good afternoon, Nick. How are you? Lovely to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
Ah, yes, very good. Well, it's always good to show you the boat.
Absolutely.
One of the highlights of my working life, I think, at the minute.
Fantastic. So, what's changed?
Quite a bit, I think. I think there's been a good bit of progress. We've got engines in and more paint on, so come and have a look.
Brilliant. It's looking very glossy.
Well, it got a little bit dusty, so I did give it a little chamois down. Just in practice for when I get it in the water, I'm having to keep chamois in it.
Absolutely.
So at the back, we've managed to get both engines in. One is fully fitted with everything ready to go. The other one's waiting for some wiring connections and the stern drive on. But you can see the stainless steel plate that we looked at last time.
Oh yes, wow, look at that. That's amazing, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So all of this is all stainless right down over here. And that's for strength, I think you said.
Yeah, and there's a matching plate on the inside which sandwiches the transom together. So we did the repair on the old hull, put the stainless steel plate on the inside and the outside, and then we mounted the transom shields, which were then able to mount the engines to.
So it does look really cool, actually. I know the point of it is strength.
Yeah.
But it does actually look really cool.
It is such a shame that we've got anti-foul it.
Yeah.
Because you kind of look at that and the new drives and you think, oh, it's criminal.
It is. It's a shame you can't dry berth it, isn't it? And then you can just admire it.
Yeah. I was saying the other day I might not even anti-foul it and just make sure I use it every week.
Yeah.
Keep the weed off
That's a very good excuse. I like your thinking.
Yeah.
So these are the Outdrives, or one of the Outdrives. And what model are these?
These are DP drives, which are the hydraulic drives, so hydraulic steering and trim.
Yeah.
And we just waited props to go on is the last thing on those. So as I say, that one's fully functional, ready to go. That one's just a case of lift it on and bolt it up.
Brilliant. And I think they're hydraulic gearboxes on those as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's all in there. The clutch and everything, I think, is in there, and the top of there.
Fantastic. Proper advanced stuff. Because they're actually a really new drive, though. So, I mean, this really is bang up to date on the mechanical side, isn't it?
Yeah, and they move independently as well, which is nice. So it gives you the ability to steer the boat more easy, which is nice, and use the joystick control.
So you've got joystick on this one as well?
Yeah.
It's got everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's go and have a look on board, shall we?
Yeah, come in. So there's no engine hatch at the minute.
Okay.
So we can get in there, but you can see we've sort of done some painting. The new Helm is in.
Wow.
Just wait for some screens. So at the minute it's quite red, but as soon as we start fitting up some of the other bits, it'll break that redness up. But the red looks fabulous, I think, and it has come up really well.
That is very, very cool. Once you've got the upholstery and that kind of thing, what colour's the upholstery going to be?
Oh, I'm undecided at the minute. I think we're going for like a really light grey to match some of the side decks, because we've had the side decks done.
Oh, right. Let's have a look. Ooh. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, that's nice. And this is this sort of grippy non-slip stuff, isn't it? A bit like you have on jet skis and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's the synthetic decking.
And that goes all the way, obviously, right round to the front there.
That's it.
And then engines. Oh, yeah, look at this. Wow, those are beasts. So those are D4s, I think I remember?
D4 300s, that's it. I'll follow you around and kind of explain what we've done.
Yeah.
So I think last time we looked, we're talking about we've had to move the engine mounts, which is where the engines sit on those boxes each side. So that central one there, everything was too far forward. So we had to cut everything out, rebuild the boxes, and then move the engine feet back so that we can mount the engines on, because they're a 4-cylinder and what was in before was a 6-cylinder, so they were slightly shorter in the length.
Okay.
And we did a lot of the ancillary stuff first, so we had lots of space to move, and then once that was done, we then put that engine in, and then we moved that one into place last. But you can see on that side, if you start over there, that's the trim and steering pump.
Oh yeah, let's get right down in the corner there so we can see it properly. Yep, gotcha.
And then next to it, we've got some charging diodes on the side of the engine room there, and some temperature sensors.
Oh, sorry, up this way.
Yeah, just in the front there.
Okay.
It might be easier actually if we get in.
Yeah.
And you can...
I'll stand on that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Point away.
So on that side, we had to make some of these vertical supports to mount everything, because before everything was kind of mounted on the side of the hull.
Right.
So because I wanted everything nice and neat in the boxes, we've had to put these sort of shelves really to put all the equipment on. So that was one of the main first tasks before we put the engines in. And then on there you can see the charging diodes for the alternator charging for the start battery and the domestic stack. And then we've got diagnostics tool in there so that the engineers can plug into the engines. We've got engine room thermostats for fans, and also we've got AC heating down there.
Oh, right.
So when the boat's laid up, there's a engine room heater in there under that stainless steel casing, which will keep some heat under the engine, so hopefully keep the rust away.
Nice. Good idea.
And then in those two cabinets there, we've got some split charging for both engines.
Mm-hmm.
And some electric battery switches.
Wow. And this is all lit in here, isn't it? That's really lovely. I like that, because it kind of, apart from being practical, it sort of shows it all off, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And it, you know, when it's nice and neat like that, it is kind of a little bit on display as well as being functional.
Yeah, totally.
And the other thing with it is I quite like to keep the engine room clean. So to have it all in boxes like that and have a fresh water tap, if you get things like engine belt dust, that sort of thing, you can actually just rinse the engine room out, and then there's a gulper pump at the back so you can get rid of the water, so you can keep it nice and clean in here.
Brilliant.
So that was another reason to have some of the sort of delicate electrical stuff in the cabinets.
Yep.
So that we can, you know, keep it nice and clean.
Makes total sense.
And then we've got water pump, domestic water pump, which is mounted on there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a really neat job. And fuel filters, I guess, are these fellas.
Most of the fuel systems in, all the new fuel lines and everything. We're just waiting for a few connections on there.
Mm-hmm.
New start batteries. This will have a little shelf on it here, so that you get a stainless steel shelf so you can stand in the engine room without standing on the batteries. That's our domestic stack in there. And then we've got some isolator switches on there. Gotcha. And then in those cabinets, that is a lot of the domestic DC. So we've got the inverter charger over there.
Mm-hmm.
Some heavy DC distribution in that cabinet.
Yep.
And then some connections for the Venus, which is our Victron system, and also a solar regulator for the solar panel.
That's brilliant. That's really, really cool. That's above and beyond. You know, you could have put that stuff in and not bothered with any of those cabinets and lights, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, it was all part of making the engine room. For me, this has got to be as good as the cabin.
Right.
You know, everything's got to be neat, labelled. We've done some wiring diagrams for sort of a future owner so that they can reference everything, so it's not just something we know about. So all of that sort of stuff I think is really important when you're doing something like this, that everything's got a place and everything's neat and tidy.
I think it's fantastic. It's genuinely impressive. And these engines, they look like beasts, don't they?
Yeah.
So 300 horsepower each.
Yeah.
And the boat originally had 260?
Yeah, they were the CAD 44s.
Yeah, 260 then. Yeah. So it's an uplift on power.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I'm really intrigued to see how she'll go.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned there's another stainless steel plate on the inside.
You can just see in there is the other plate which matches the one on the outside.
Gotcha.
That was slightly smaller all the way around the edge, but the holes all married up so we could mount everything in. And it literally, I was so pleased, everything went in millimetre perfect.
Fantastic.
It slid straight in, and we used the crane, and we were able just to do a controlled lift, couple of shoves, and then it just sat in place perfect. Even I was surprised.
That must have been very, very pleasing.
Yeah, very much. And the whole thing has been about, you know, being able to do it on my own, because, you know, we built the crane, and to be able to lift the engine up out of the box, bring it in, drop it in, and it goes straight in was just, I mean, so rewarding. It's untrue, really. Yeah. It's been good.
That's fantastic. Really, really impressive. Let's have a little look through the rest of the cockpit then.
Yeah.
So this is clearly painted.
Yeah.
Spray painted, presumably.
Yeah, which this, I would say, is probably the most difficult part, because when you're painting the side of a hull, it's quite a big flat area. It's everything's at the right height. Whereas when you get to do a cockpit area like this, you've got lots of little intricate places where the product can build up, so it can form things like runs, that sort of stuff.
Right.
So when you're moving around in this area, and this was all painted as one in here, apart from the console. So we were sort of through the back of the boat with the airline, trying to do all this, then going around the corner from this, trying not to let the airline touch, trying not to let your overalls touch the side of a bit of wet paint. So it was really quite tricky to do that, but I think it's come up really well.
It looks flawless.
Yeah, and this, a lot of it hasn't been polished yet, so this is just a gun finish.
Brilliant. And then the helm is the other thing that's the big change.
So the helm, that's just been painted. The top section here is all of the new bit, which goes around where the black is.
Okay.
And all of this bottom bit is the original. So we basically cut the middle of the old console out, which had the round dials, all that sort of stuff in it, this sort of oval shaped top dash.
I remember, yep.
Got rid of all of that, and then with our new mould we were able to just sit it on top of it, and we just did an epoxy scarf tape on the join, and we were able then just to blend it into the old console, and it looks hopefully like it grew there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's going to be touch screens in here.
Yeah, there's two 16-inch Garmin screens which go in there. One's going to mainly run engine instrumentation, the other one's nav and radar. Mm-hmm. And then this one here is our touchscreen system, which is an Android panel, and that will have an app on it which is what operates the boat.
Right.
Which will also be a web browser, can run Netflix, Spotify, all that sort of stuff off of it.
Fantastic.
We could stream that to the telly, we can do the music off of it. It's got a Sonos sound system which we've put in as well, so we'll be able to play that from it as well. So it should be quite slick, I think.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And will you be able to access that for an app?
Yeah, so the boat has its own operating system, which is an app which you download, and that's how we get the remote access to the boat, by logging onto the boat. I nearly said vehicle then. Cross over between motorhomes and boats.
Force of habit.
And that's why you'll be able to operate the boat, because you'll be able to log on to that Android panel from our onboard system.
Okay, so that's to be able to check things like battery voltage and bilge pumps and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, turn lights on and off, put the fridge on, heating, hot water, check battery voltages, access cameras, so I can see the camera that's going to be on the top of the T-top, and also there'll be another camera in the engine room, so you could access all of that remotely.
Fantastic.
Which would be really good.
So you could
really
be coming
handy, I think, for just monitoring the boat when you're not there.
Totally, because reassurance, peace of mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Are the batteries flat? You know, is the shore lead plugged in? All that sort of stuff. We'll have direct access to. And
presumably, okay, so you think, right, let's go down to the boat this afternoon. You can jump in the car, grab your app, turn your fridge on, turn your lights on.
Yeah.
Turn the heating on if you need the heating on, so it's nice and warm when you get there.
Yeah.
And have the whole thing so that when you turn up at the marina, you step on board.
Everything's there, yeah. So at night, I could put the lights on as well if I wanted. You know, illuminated light on the back for the sign. I could put that on. You know, lots of features which seem extravagant, but I think are really quite useful. You know, and there's another slave screen in the cabin which will be able to have the same system, so you could operate it without actually coming up here to operate something. But yeah, I just think it's the way forward, you know. It's what it should be nowadays.
Yeah, completely, 100%. And are you on track? Are you where you thought you would be at this point? How's it going?
Yeah, I think my target now is if we can get the cockpit done, so all of this rigged, the cockpit done and the upholstery done before Christmas.
Yep.
That just leaves me the cabin before Easter, which for me, the cabin is very easy, very straightforward, and I've done a little bit of it already, so I'm just not seeing that as a major task at all. But if I could sort of break the back of this before Christmas, then we're sort of on track for Easter launch.
Fantastic.
Hopefully.
And the windscreen is still missing. I think you mentioned last time that was being powder coated?
Yeah, so the bottom rail, which is in now, which is what you can see here, which is where the screen sits, so that's all back. The next bit is put the glass back in, or the perspex back in, and then all the rest of it is all done, ready to go. So it is, everything now is pretty much done and waiting to be fitted. So it will kind of accelerate now nicely because everything's made ready to go in the boat. So
brilliant.
it's good.
That's amazing. It really has stepped on. I wasn't sure what to expect, and very wisely you didn't tell me what you'd done as such. You just said, come and have another look. So it's fascinating to see it. I love that engine bay. I think that's just terrific, particularly the lighting in there. I think it's a great idea. And yeah, there's just no stopping you, is there? I mean, it's really coming together.
Yeah, I think now things will happen pretty quick because we're in the good stage where we're sort of just bolting bits back on.
Yeah.
You know, we're not having to sort of refinish everything and rework everything. That period is gone now. The T-tops just come back off, just to have its final paintwork, and then that's going back on. We've got that roller blind, which our guys that did our awning, they've made a really nice roller blind for the back, which comes out on 2 telescopic arms, and then it's got a black mesh cover, so that'll sit off the back of that, so that'll be a really nice feature as well. And then once we've got that on, we can then rig the radar, that sort of stuff, nav lights, everything that goes on top of it.
Perfect.
It should be good.
Fantastic. Well, that has been fascinating as ever, and each time I turn up, it's a really interesting story, and it's really interesting to see the progression. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
No problem.
And we will look forward very much to the next big step forward. Yeah. Which I guess will be probably in another, 2 or 3 months, something like that?
Yeah, I'd say if we do before Christmas,
Yep.
that should we should have a lot more progress by then.
Yeah. Brilliant. So there you go. I think you'll agree that is mighty, mighty impressive. Let us know what you think of it in the comments. And we will look forward to meeting Richard and doing you another one of these in a few months' time. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Nick. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.